Disclaimer.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily the views of Tash, Becky, or Be Your Best You podcast.
Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes, and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up, and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Hi! Welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash.
And Becky, the Bash edition.
And today we are talking about the dark night of the soul.
Sounds scary.
It isn't.
You'll be fine.
In this episode, we're basically just going through what is the dark night of the soul, what it isn't, how you might be experiencing it, whether to know if you've had a dark night of the soul, you're in a dark night of the soul. We share our own personal experiences. It got a bit raw and vulnerable, didn't it?
Very. I did say in the episode, I think I need a drink now. I'm going to the pub.
Well, she's definitely not going to the pub. But anyway, we hope that by sharing our own experiences, it will maybe help spark a little bit of awareness for you. If you know what it is, or if you don't know what it is, hopefully it will just help you understand yourself a little better and know how to navigate through these times that we call dark nights of the soul.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoy, guys.
Enjoy.
You're welcome. Okay, so if you're the kind of woman who's doing all the healing work, all the mindset work, all the manifesting, but you still feel stuck, it's not because you're broken. It's because your nervous system and your subconscious doesn't feel safe to slow down. So we made you a free 12-minute audio experience called Return to Self, the Subconscious Reset, to turn down the noise and bring you back to your center. Grab it free in the show notes. Today, we are talking all things Dark Night of the Soul.
Oh,
Can't believe we haven't done an episode on this already.
no, I can't. And actually, we were talking about it, weren't we, before we came on, about what we were going to talk about. And I was like, I don't actually know anything about that. And I hear it thrown around all the time. Oh, well, I had this dark night of the soul. And I was like, I really want Tash to tell us more about that, please. And have I had one?
Yes,
I
and then
don't
I told
know.
her she has. Just reminded her. Oh, yeah. But I think, yeah, it was really interesting because when Beck said it, I was like, how have we not done this before?
Yeah, how's it not come up?
Yeah.
Really? But
And obviously we can share our own experiences of it.
yeah,
And I think that, again, with all of this the terminology in the spiritual new age kind of world, we're humans, we need to have words and to describe things, but I don't think that there's any kind of like one explanation for it. And you know, people try and categorize it and say it's this, or if you've had this and this and this.
okay.
And you know what I'm like. I'm all
Yeah.
about, like, we don't need to label things. We just
No.
need to try and understand each other and understand yourself, sorry.
Yeah.
And also I understand that labels are actually helpful
yeah.
for you to be able to identify things. So when you put
Sure.
things into categories,
Mhm.
then you can go, oh, okay, yes, I fit that pattern.
Yeah.
Potentially, I've had a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying this is because everything that I do, I'm always trying to get people to be empowered by themselves, not by listening to say people like us or other podcasts or things that you see online and stuff and go, oh no, they said that, if that, and then it's
So
not that.
you doubt it. Yeah.
Exactly. Just trust yourself,
Yeah.
Listen to the information.
Mhm.
If you feel like it resonates with you, then trust that. And it is.
Mm.
You know, if someone else says, oh, no, that wouldn't be a dark night of the soul because this didn't happen, that didn't happen, or it has to be this.
Okay.
Just,
There's no set.
I don't think. I personally don't think so.
No, everything's so individual, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
You can't judge one by another. But like you say, very helpful to hear other people's stories because it may resonate.
Yes, and I think it's important to say as well that when I was going through my dark night of the soul, as you may call it, I had no idea what that was. I wasn't into the spiritual world
Right, so
at
you had it
all.
before.
Yes.
Crikey, yeah.
And I think, again, everybody's different.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people enter the spiritual world after having a dark night of the soul.
Right.
But also, I think some people think you have a dark night of the soul and then that's it. And that's not true either. You can have many dark nights of the soul.
Okay.
I think, how would I explain it now, like I think about it? So I see everything as going in waves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we work in cycles. Everything's secular, everything. Like we are, think of like the menstrual cycle, the moon, the earth rotating around the sun rotating around the galaxy, like everything from the macro to the micro works in cycles.
Yeah.
And so I think that life is the same. So we see it as a wave going up and down, but actually it is a cycle because I've spoken about this before. We're not just going like round and round in the cycle. We're spinning up as we're going around.
Yeah.
And we're spinning down as well sometimes. So, but to keep it simple, if you think of a wave going up and down, peaks and troughs, how I kind of typically see the dark night of the soul really is you could look at it in another way as like you'll kind of either maybe an ego death, and like we've spoken about that before, so maybe that could be in time where some part of your identity is dying and you're letting it go and you're releasing it, and so that can feel like a dark night of the soul. I think sometimes it can be just like a period of integration.
Right.
So where you've done a whole load of energy work, potentially a lot, you've released a lot, you've done a lot of energetic subconscious work, and then all of a sudden it kind of breaks everything down. You could say like in tarot, the tower moment where everything has to break down before something new can be rebuilt. Same as we're talking about that in the way the world is right now. Everything's crumbling, everything's breaking down, so something better can take its place. Again, it's all the same. So I see a dark night of the soul potentially in a lot of ways as it can come from something like that. And also, like we said, a lot of people enter their spiritual journey like after they've had a dark night of the soul, and I think that one is where maybe you wake up and you're like, life isn't what I thought it was. A bit like what we were talking about with when you fearing your reality shifting and stuff, the season 3 opener. That can kind of be a bit of a dark night of the soul because you're like, everything I thought life was, everything I thought I was, it's not true. You know, there could be a lot of anger there, a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, and that can also be a dark night of the soul. So, and I'm sure there's lots of other examples as well. Like I said, I don't think it's cut and dry, but there's just some examples right there. And again, I like to see it as a necessary part of life. Of our secular life, rather than, because you say dark night of the soul, you're like,
sounds
terrifying.
terrifying.
Sounds scary.
I was like, oh God, I don't want one of them.
But it can be the best thing. You know, it really, really can. Like everything, we don't want bad, in inverted commas, stuff to happen because we're scared of it and like, oh, I don't want that. But actually, that's where growth comes. That's where great things can come from it. Which is why, again, I don't like using labels necessarily, because words carry frequency, don't they? They carry meanings. And if people are scared of having a dark night of the soul, they're going to go into it already in fear. Whereas if you just think, oh, this is one of those integration periods, this is one of the troughs on the peaks and troughs cycle of my life, right, let's deal with this because I know I'm going to come back up out of it. So I suppose let's set the scene with that. Don't be scared of the dark night of the soul if you are aware of it and you're not sure what it is.
No, because you know, that's what you always do. You make these things that you know, they do tend to be given these words, don't they? These scary sounding dark words, and then I run to Tash and I'm like, make this fluffy and beautiful for me. And it does just make everything better. And like you say, it's like the crumbling, isn't it? It's like things have to crumble to be rebuilt. So it's like having that positive spin on it. So yeah, it'd be nice to call it something else other than the dark night of the soul. But there we go. So you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. As with everything, we spoke about grief, didn't we, not that long ago? I think grief can be a good thing as well. But that's not to say that it's not really uncomfortable when you're in it, that it doesn't hurt, you know, or it doesn't feel like your life is falling down.
Yeah.
Because, again, believe me, I've experienced it, and my dark night of the soul was a massive crumbling of my life, and it was horrific.
And
when
you just
I was
have to reevaluate everything.
Yeah, you have to work through it.
Yeah,
you have to. You cannot see. The thing is, it's like when I had my, what I would say was probably my dark night of the soul. Like, again, I didn't even know that's what it was until I heard people talking about it, and then I was like, oh, that's what it was. Okay, that makes sense. Like, I always knew that period of my life sparked me into this new period of my life, and it opened up my eyes, and it did all the things that it did for me. I always knew that, but yeah, I didn't know it had a name.
No.
But at the time, obviously, I didn't have that vocabulary. I didn't have the understanding of the spiritual stuff, everything that we talk about. I didn't have that because that was my initiation into it.
Yeah.
So, of course, for me, in the state that I was in at that point, I was just like, what the is happening to my life?
Yeah.
In it, when I was drowning in it, I was like the most uncomfortable period of my life. And you know, again, everybody's different, but that dark night of the soul, I would say, because it's difficult, because there's a period of time where it was very at its heightened, at its worst, or at its lowest, I suppose you could say, where it was very obvious that that was the period in time that you would call the dark night of the soul. But actually, when I look at it from a zoomed out perspective now, I can see that it actually started way before that, but it was like a gradual build up. So again, something to be aware of. It's not like, bam, something bad happens, that's your dark night of the soul. It can be gradual. Because again, you go back to the peak and the trough, you have to, you ease down, don't you, before you reach the very bottom of the wave, and then you go back up again. So I'd say, like, yes, it's not like a bam.
Yeah, so like that's why I didn't even know I'd had one, I guess.
Yes.
Because I just thought I was riding the wave. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, have I had one, Tash? And she's like, yeah. So mine was like a culmination of Harry, my son, that period, isn't it? Where I'd been trying to help him with his mental health, and you know, it's over a long period of time as well, wasn't it? Like years.
Yeah, mine was.
Yeah. So, but I suppose I got to that point where I tried everything, hadn't I? I remember me saying to you, like, I've tried everything, Tash, like, I don't know what else to try.
Yeah.
And she's like, I do. Time to work on you. But there we go. So that was like my gradual wave. So that's, I didn't know that was a dark night of the soul. So that's cool that I've learned that today. Also, I've had nights, well, maybe one or two, where just, I know it's like, it doesn't mean it has to be dark night of the soul, but have you had those nights where you're just anxious and you don't know why? Would that be a dark night of the soul?
No.
That's something different, is it? Is that like just energy maybe that you're feeling?
Yeah, that's going to be dependent on what's ever going on with you.
Right.
So dark night of the soul is kind of like a metaphor. It's not a night.
No.
It's not a particular period of time. Like we said, like yours probably went on for a good year and a half. Like I know the Harry situation was a longer. Your part was probably about a year.
Right.
I would say mine was we're on both ends of the spectrum. 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So it can be a long period of time now. And I don't say that to be like scare people or to make people think, oh my God, because again, this is what I'm saying to you. That's why I started this conversation off by saying we have to change the perspective of how we see these things, because you know, you don't want to see it as something that you have to like go through and like, oh God, deal with, because it's your life, it's part of it, it's a cycle,
isn't it?
It's necessary. So be in it. If you want to be able to call it the dark night of the soul and say, oh yes, I think I'm in a dark night of the soul, that's fine if it helps you, but don't then think, so now I must do everything I can to get out of this dark night of the soul. Do you know what I mean? Because then you're causing your own suffering again. it goes back to everything that we talk about here, which is like, you create your reality, acceptance, feeling empowered, knowing that you're not a victim and things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you, that ultimately you are on a soul level in control of this. You chose this, so use it as part of your journey. It's not something to get through quickly so you can be on the other side.
No,
it's something to be in, be present in, process it by feeling it and being very like aware that it feels all the uncomfortable feelings, but at the same time know that you are riding that wave and you will come out of it, and you will come out of it better. And then your experience of your dark night of the soul is going to be so much better. So for instance, for me, when I had mine at first, I didn't know any of this, and I didn't know when it was going to end, and it felt like it just kept getting, like life just kept getting worse. Now, I didn't go into victim, like I was in victim mentality before. That was part of my awakening and dark night of the soul, but I didn't. I did, and again, I think that's just me as a person. That's who I am. I've always tried to see like the positive, and I've always been like, well, I'm not going to let it bring me down. I will get through this. I've always had that underlying belief. But it took me down. It was a bit of a knock. I was like, but I didn't know then what I was doing. I didn't know what to expect. Now, for a dark night of the soul after that, any subsequent one I will have now, I'm going to be very aware of what this is, and I will go through it very differently, and I'll be able to take much more from it, and potentially, because I'm aware of it now, and I'm not going to try and get out of it, or I'm not going to try and or I'm not going to step into victim mentality and think I'm, life's awful, why me, poor me. I'm just gonna be like, right, what can I learn from this? How can I make sure I feel everything that's going on here? Where can I take the lessons? How is this about me? How am I looking at this where I'm creating my own suffering? Where is this taking me? All of those questions. The irony is you usually do get through it quicker. Because it doesn't hang around for you. Things only linger when you haven't learnt your lessons.
That's right.
The quicker you can like pull the lessons and extract the lessons from it. And I'm not saying aim to be quicker.
No.
but awareness will make you quicker naturally without you having to do anything.
Definitely.
The awareness will make it quicker. So that's what I'm kind of like saying.
And it's being able to like, you feel like you've got a bit more control over not being in control. If that makes sense. When you're aware of that's what it is you're going through, that, okay, I can control this. Because if you're like me, control's my thing. That makes me feel very uncomfortable if I'm not in control. But if I can control the fact that I need to surrender. Brilliant. Just let go and ride. Okay. But I guess it's just like knowing what's happening to you is the control, isn't it? And that's okay. That makes everything a bit easier.
Everything comes back to awareness, doesn't it? When you can be aware of things, you do feel more in control. But at the same time, you're letting go of control. I feel like we should say, for people who are listening to this who have never heard of a dark night of the soul, maybe I should just quickly like go through it. So we kind of have said it, I told you the stages of when you could potentially have a dark night of the soul. But I know there's lots of people listening that will know what this is, that will be aware they've had one, or that who will have had one and now listening to this will be like, oh, I have had one. And there might be some people that haven't necessarily maybe gone through it yet. So really, if to simplify it, dark night of the soul is when your reality, to a certain extent, I think, again, this is just my explanation of it, because there's probably hundreds. I'm not saying this is right, but this is my interpretation and explanation of it. When you have a dark night of the soul, you start questioning things, right? You start questioning yourself, who you are. You start questioning reality. You start questioning life. You start questioning things. I think that's what a dark night of the soul is. It's that. And then overall, there's a feeling of, this is heavy, this is uncomfortable. You're in those kind of denser emotions, I suppose. And we view that as being bad and darker, like this is the name, darker. And it's not. We've spoken about this before. It's not, but it does, when you're in it, it does feel like that. We're humans. We'd be lying if we said it didn't feel, uncomfortable and a bit dark and a bit like, ugh. it's heavy.
Mm.
But again, it's and so I would be interested to see if people listening to this can identify that they've had a dark night of the soul, and hear how they experience it, and
Yeah.
how they would describe it, because again, I can only speak from my personal experience.
Sure.
And I never really did a lot of kind of like reading up or research about dark night of the souls, because I don't really care.
No.
It doesn't make any difference to me. I'm going through my life as I'm going through it. But I do know that a lot of people found comfort when they've heard of this term, because it's like, oh, it's not just life's going to shit for me.
Okay,
this is what it is, and this is why it is, and now I can do something about it. But that's kind of really what, like, you know, for example, let's take yours. For you, you started questioning, like, you were having different thoughts, weren't you? You were having like heavier, darker thoughts, and I don't mean in terms of I'm being a bit cryptic, because obviously this is your personal stuff, so I don't know how much we're sharing here, but it was like you were thinking about things from a very different perspective than you had ever thought of them before. Like, you know,
as in like the fear of death, like with Harry.
Yes,
that. I mean, that's when you hit, like, I guess, rock bottom, you could say, couldn't you, when your perspective is like, oh, well, I've got to prepare myself.
Yeah,
I thought that's what you meant. I'm happy to report he's still here, so it's all good now, so I can say it. But it is that, isn't it? It's like you something's changed in you, hasn't it? If you're able to, it's almost like I was trying to come to terms with him dying, possibly, before it happened.
And
just preparing myself to find him one day. You know,
and the thoughts that you were having and things you were saying to yourself,
that's not,
you would never have
not
said
normal,
that.
is it?
And I'm not saying that's wrong. You needed to have.
I did.
It was very calm. It was it was acceptance, wasn't it?
Which was what was
scary.
Like, scary,
Because I can remember, like, I can see you and the conversations we were having in the woods, and I was like, wow.
I was
it
like,
hit
matter
me.
of fact.
It was very matter of fact. It hit me, and so you were having those different thoughts, and then it was, and then you said, you know, because when I was in the kitchen, when you said, have I had a dark night of the soul, and I was like, yeah. Do you remember when you were like, I don't know, I feel like I'm worried I'm gonna lose it, I'm gonna crack. Perfect example of this dark night of the soul, because you get to that point where you're like, what it was your whole psyche is just going, I don't know how to deal with this anymore, but this version of me cannot deal with life in this way anymore, so I have to become something different, or I have to see life in a different way, which is exactly what you did, which very quickly, when you got to that point, led on to obviously you going, this is me. The only way, I can't control him anymore. It highlighted everything for you in a completely new light of how you saw yourself. You're
it
like,
just like opened up another door, didn't it? Because do you remember then, not long after that, I don't know if it came up in conversation or whether you said it or I said it. I think you might have said it, and it was like codependency.
Yeah.
It was you, wasn't it? And it must have been you, because I was like, oh God, no, I don't think so, Tash. No, that's not. We're not codependent. No, that's like smothering each other. You know, that's not me. And but of course it triggered me, didn't it? And back then I didn't even really I wasn't so aware to pay attention to my triggers. However, I did pay attention to that trigger, and went home and Googled codependency, and I'm like, oh, shit, yes, oh my God. And I was like, oh, by the way, you're right about that. But I was only able to see that because I'd gone to that perspective, hadn't I, where everything had to open up to me. It just busts you wide open.
That's it. Yes.
That is the best place to be, because then you can, like, so I'm in all that shit dark stuff, like you said, and I was in the best place I've ever been. Because I was then able to do stuff, do something about it. You know, and it gave me direction, it gave me a focus, somewhere to go. So
it put you back into, it empowered you, it put you back into control, because you were trying to control all the external circumstances around you. You were trying to control Harry, and what you realized was that none of that is ever going to work. You, unfortunately, it got to such a dark point for you all that you got to a point where you're like, oh, this isn't working, to the point where you did have to say, I have to accept that one day the worst might have happened. I could find him. And then then you were like, yeah, so the only thing I can do is me. And that was when you started looking into, and you got the insight of yourself in a whole new way that you could have never, like, that was a real shadow part of you uncovered. And yet it was the best thing, because you're like, oh yeah, I'm codependent. Oh yeah, I'm actually really controlling. Oh my God, it's me. I've played a part in this. It's absolute, you took radical responsibility. And I think that's really, now I'm thinking about it, because I'm thinking of mine, and in mine I also took radical responsibility after having myself broken down and seeing myself in a way that I would never have wanted to see myself, like all the dark, all the shadow, and then just being like, oh, okay, right, now I can do something about this, because now I never knew that was part of me that I was like scared of hiding. And like you said, what did you just say a minute ago? It
just busts you wide open.
Yes, that perfect example. That I definitely think that needs to go under Dark Night of the Soul description. Bust you. So if you feel like you've been busted wide open, then you've had a Dark Night of the Soul. You're in Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah,
like where you've just been laid bare. Like,
oh, it's the best thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like you say, then you can start doing something about it. But also what you're doing there is you're forgiving yourself. Like, there's no shame or embarrassment there.
Yeah.
So before, I guess what we were doing is subconsciously we knew about these things, but we were like, oh, I'll just stuff that down there and stuff that down there. But once you're busted open and you see it and you're like, thank you, I've got something I can do now. Because you're coming at it with that energy, you've forgiven yourself for, like, that's not important. You know, you're not you're not shamed, you're not embarrassed to go there and look at that, because you've been busted open. You haven't got a choice. It's all laid out in front of you. And you're like, so you just get on with the job, don't you? And you don't have any you're not self-negative talk. You bypass that, because well, this is just what it is, and now we can do something about it. None of the past matters. We've just got to build. There's obviously times where you think, oh God, like in my situation with Harry, you sort of like think, oh yeah, well, I wish I'd known what I know now a bit sooner. But then you think, well, hey ho, that wasn't my journey. I wouldn't have learnt the things that I know, would I?
You had to get to that deepest, darkest point of acceptance of your son's death to be exactly where you are sat there now.
Yeah.
And it's like you could never have seen that when you were in it. But looking back, like, it just makes absolute sense that you need to reach these depths.
Yeah.
We want, as humans, and especially in this society now, we're just so used to having everything delivered to us immediately, speedy fast.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to wait. We just want it now. We don't want to put in any work. And in a lot of our lives, that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We have become used to that.
We don't know how to be bored anymore, do we?
But the thing is that there's certain things, and with all the inner work, there is no quick fix.
No.
There isn't. You have to do it. You have to experience it. You have to have these points in your life where you hit rock bottom, or you have horrible things and experience horrible things, because it does something to you. It changes you in that moment, doesn't it? It busts you open. And you can't get that from reading a book or from listening to podcasts or now the reading the books and the listening to the podcasts and doing all of that guides you and pushes you towards these moments or through these moments. So they're so important. I'm not saying they're not important. Obviously, we're sat here doing this. Of course I'm not. But you cannot rely on the work being done from just intellectualizing,
just being aware
stuff.
of it.
You have to have these moments. This is what changes you. And again, sat here speaking from having a lot of these things happen to me and coming out the other side, and from every single one of them being able to say, I see why that had to happen. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Because I wouldn't be sat here the person that I am now. But also I'm like, I chose that to happen. I know we have free will down here, but I do also think that we we have certain milestones, certain things that
Yeah.
we have chosen to happen to act as catalysts,
Yeah.
or to act as the growth points, whatever.
Yeah.
We have to experience it. You had to experience the feeling of what that felt like, to be at that depth of acceptance of your son's death. You had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thank
that was
God
the
you
only
didn't.
thing
It was the
that
only thing would have busted you open to be able to see that where your responsibility lied for it, because we shove these shadow parts of us so deep. It's like the skeletons come out of the closet in the dark night of the soul, and everyone sees them. You see them, and like you said, at that point they're out, and you think, well, the only way is up now.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly.
well, I've got nothing to hide anymore.
No, exactly. It's like now I'm not like embarrassed about anything now. You know, like say me and Ian are like arguing over something, and I'll say now, well, you know, tell me how to give me your opinion on what I can do.
Yes.
Oh, God, I would never have said that before.
No, like,
God,
you
you're
do
not
it.
telling me. I'll tell you.
This is all your fault.
Yeah, it's like, no, please tell me. Like,
Yeah.
you welcome like the
Yeah.
criticism, as long as it's done in a, you know, no one wants to be like
Well, no,
shamed,
no,
do they?
it's done
But
in a
doing it in a
way.
loving way.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hear it. Like, and that's another thing, that so much changes when you go through these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose there are those people that go through these things like we all go through, but they do run away. You know, we've I mean, we all know people, don't we, that you think, oh, you know, they just ran away in the middle of the night and went out for milk and never came back. But I suppose these things will still follow them around, and
That's the thing.
yeah,
And it will keep knocking, like, again,
Yeah.
said this many times, haven't we? The universe will give you a little tap,
yeah,
a little nudge, then it'll give you a push, then it's going to smack you around the head
yeah.
with
And it's
a
when you say that
sledgehammer.
makes you want to go, oh, okay,
Yeah.
right, I'm doing it first. The tap, I'm
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah,
And sometimes we do need to have the sledgehammer, and
Yeah.
actually, at least when the sledgehammer hits, it's very clear.
yeah,
You know, sometimes if you're doing it with the little tap or the nudge, it's a bit more difficult
yeah,
because you have to really like step outside of your comfort zone. You have to push your, like, you have the fear and you have to kind of do it anyway. And it's like it's more uncomfortable to do it. It's not more uncomfortable. Like, you feel more comfortable in your life, but to try and make the changes feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you get hit round the sledgehammer, that's very uncomfortable in your life, but
True.
actually the work becomes very easy because
That's
you've got
true.
no other choice. You
That's
just
it.
do it.
Yeah.
And then it really like works.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is what, unfortunately, is what happened to me.
Quick pause, lovely. If you're exhausted from trying so hard and your body just won't let you slow down, we made a free 12-minute reset to help you feel calm, safe and grounded again. It's called Return to Self. Link in the show notes.
And I'm just like, I'm trying to think like here, because I'm sat here thinking, so if you're listening to this and you're like, well, am I going through a dark night of the soul? Like, is this me? So we've given quite a lot of examples. For my example, because I haven't really spoken about it, there's a whole section which of part of my dark night of the soul, which I'm just not going to talk about on here. But there's like too many people were involved and stuff, and I just don't feel like I need to. But what I will say is that when I look back now and I said, you know, there was the lead up to it, what I noticed, and I think this is the bit that I didn't realise, that it was building up for a long period of time. And if I had have paid attention, or if I'd have known, if I'd have realised, I could have prevented my implosion.
Yeah.
Again, however, I still stand here and sit there now and say that needed to happen for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would have necessarily be sat here where I am now if it hadn't have happened. But for people, the reason I'm going to share this now is that you guys listening, or some of you might be in this spot now where I was. So catch it, learn from my mistake and catch it. So looking back now, what I didn't realise, before things went like the tower moment, the crumble, whatever, there was probably about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. But again, it was a build up, even maybe before that, of me feeling lost, me feeling like I didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And again, now you can see that, like we've said, a lot of a Dark Night of the Soul is a identity collapse, an ego collapse. It's like, which needs to happen. We need to drop our these identity boxes. That's the whole point of life, right? Remembering who we are, you have to do that. But in the lead up, like I started questioning who I was. I didn't know who I was. I lost myself. I was in this kind of like in between stage of I was a mum and I was, you know, that was my life, to the point where the kids were getting older and that wasn't fulfilling me anymore. And I knew I needed something more, but I didn't know what that was. And I had no confidence. I'd lost all my confidence, all my self-worth, all my self-esteem. The only thing I could say was that I did believe I was a good mum. But that was my life, and that had been my life for so long, and I threw everything into it. So I could say that, but other than that, I didn't really have any kind of like belief in myself, which felt weird in itself, because when I was younger, I had a lot of confidence in myself. You know, I was academic at school. I was going to be a doctor. I got into med school. I did all the things. That's who I thought I was. So I did always believe in myself. So then it felt very weird to me to not feel like that. I almost felt like I was betraying who I was supposed to be anyway. So that was uncomfortable. And then it showed up in signs of, because like, how does that show up? How did I feel lost? Like, you know, I just remember like something very, very clear to me was I went to one of Chris's work things. And it was full of like women who, well, and men, but there were women there, obviously my focus. Lots of women who were like business women, solicitors, successful, like powerful women, like in work, knew their stuff, like just, you know, what I deemed as successful, by the way. And I was talking to them all, and I just remember feeling so freaking useless. I felt like I felt just rubbish. I felt rubbish. I felt so insignificant, so small. But I also felt, and this was quieter, but I'm obviously analysing now, it was quieter, so it was harder to see. But what I felt was like, that should be me, that could be me. Like I have the potential to be that, and I'm not. And then that was like, that was all that, then the shame, like what are you doing? Like what are you wasting your life? Who are you're now 30 odd, and what have you don't have a career, you know, it was all of that. Now that wouldn't be upsetting for everyone, because some people don't want that, but I think for me, I've always felt like I'm here to do something. I always felt like I was going to be successful,
and
in
you
something.
Knew you were out of alignment. And
it was
and
absolutely
that just amplified it. It was all facing you, screaming at you.
And it was just so obvious. Again, like I've never been someone who's been jealous of other women, or I've never had that feeling of like, oh God, you know, never. It's just not part of who I was, and that felt uncomfortable because I had that. I was like, what is this? This is not me. I don't know what this is. At the same time as I was doing that, and you'll remember this, I started learning French.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like, but remember your French.
And it was, and
you were so cute. Oh, I'd be there every day for the school run, and she'd have your little earbuds in doing her French. I was like, oh, look how I go.
It was like, and I look back now, it does make you laugh, because it was like my obsession. I got so bloody good at it.
So good.
Très bien.
Oh,
I've forgotten it all now. But what I didn't realise, but what I was doing then was I was trying to get my brain activated again. I felt like my brain had gone to mush.
Yeah, well, a great idea, because like you're at home, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
So that was a great idea.
And it made me feel good that I was learning something. It made me feel good to have a purpose, even though the purpose was just learning French. And I didn't realise at the time that was directly linked to those feelings that I was feeling.
No. It's...
Yeah. And, but again, so that was kind of how it was manifesting for me. I was questioning what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Where am I going to go? Like I can't be a mum forever. It was huge questions and big identity stuff. I started becoming aware of this doesn't feel right. I don't feel good. I'm not happy. And I think for me, that was a bit of an identity, like, ugh, because I'm the happy one. I'm always happy. Life is good. Life is great. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, life is not good.
No.
Life is not great. And I felt obviously all the things around that. I was like, you're so, look at you. You have a lovely life on paper. You should be happy. Da, 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 da.
Then you're beating yourself up about it. Yeah.
And it was all of that.
Yeah.
And I was just very much on autopilot.
Yeah.
I was very much on autopilot. Like I said before that, I had, everyone knows my beliefs. I was just like, agnostic, I suppose. Maybe agnostic, atheist, whatever. But I just thought that was it. Life happens, then it's it. You end. Nothing magical, no coincidences. Science, everything is fact, like very much like that. So I didn't even have any of that magic in my life now. And yeah, so anyway, that was the build up. That was where that things started to unravel. That was the beginning of my dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Then things happened, and because I didn't listen, I completely lost myself.
Yeah.
I went into that, like, I don't know who I am. And then I've said this before, I felt like my soul had checked out.
Yeah.
And that my soul wasn't running, and I was just this weird autopilot thing that was being very led by my need for validation, my need for love, my need for filling that hole that was in me, and I was looking for it externally, and I was very vulnerable.
That's such a good description. I bet a lot of people can relate to those feelings.
Yeah, and I think, again, I work with, obviously, the clients that I work with, I see it, the reason I'm working with them, the reason they're drawn to me is because they're me, they're the same, and I understand them, like more than they know, more than they'll ever know, I understand them, because I was there.
Yeah.
And so that led to this massive tower moment for me, which had huge, huge effects in my life. But what it did, without going into all the details, what it did was what we said before. It bust me wide open. Like I always explained it as like it shattered me into a million pieces, and I was just laid bare on the floor with everything to see. It was the worst time of my life, the most uncomfortable time of my life. I had to face things that I'd never faced in my life before. I had to face parts of my identity that I would never have correlated with me as a person.
Right.
And I had to do a lot of self-forgiveness. It was like I said, it was one of those moments where it wasn't a sledgehammer, God, it was like a bloody crane with one of those big metal balls, just bulldozed me down. And, it wasn't just me that got affected. There was a lot of people that, that were, affected by it. And again, did we all choose it? I think that we maybe did, but at the time it was just like, ugh, it was horrible. And it was a horrible time to live in for me and for other people as well. But what we're talking about, my dark night of the soul, it was awful in terms of the feelings I had to face. Because, like I said, I'd never had to look at myself in that way before. But like we said, though living that time period was hard. Oh, and then, by the way, just to finish it off, as if that wasn't enough, then Mum got diagnosed with cancer and died 3 months later. That was the end part. And it was all I look at it now, and it was all very much organised. Things happened. COVID was in that as well. There were things that happened there where you look at now and you just think, freaking hell,
God,
that was, if you cannot tell me that wasn't staged. It was written, because it worked perfectly. And if things hadn't have happened exactly the way they'd happened, it would have been a very different story.
Yeah.
For everyone, for me. So though it was a really, really uncomfortable, awful time, there was something very liberating. And it, again, probably couldn't have said it. There's a certain period of time I couldn't have said that.
No.
But when I started, because once stuff's all laid bare and once something's out and everything is there's nothing left. Like, there is nothing left. I genuinely feel like all of my the crap and the stuff, anything that I could like not like about myself. I feel like I've you know, never say never. I just don't feel like there's anything that could come up now
No.
about me where I'd go, oh my God, oh, and that.
Yeah.
I just felt like everything came up at that point, and I had to look at everything and face everything and move on from that. And that's where my self-love came from. So, sorry, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, even though it was really uncomfortable, I started feeling better. I started feeling empowered. I started feeling more in control because I took radical responsibility for me. I realized all the ways that I had been a victim, all the stories that I'd been telling myself, the way I saw the world and saw other people. And I started taking on massive responsibility for it all. Now, it got to the point where it went a bit too far the other way, didn't it? Where I was just like, I'm just the worst person in the world, and and this is all my fault. And then I had to go back there to bring it back. And fortunately, I had so many wonderful people around me to help me do that. But so once I'd come back to kind of center, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to own this. I see myself, I see what it is. And that's when I started being able to look at life as in everything's happening for me, like everything's good and I'm in control and I can change this, and there's things about me that I can change always to change my experience. And then obviously mum dying was the final crack in my identity, because for anyone who's lost their mum, especially if they've had like a decent relationship with them, I know it might be different if you haven't got a good relationship with your mum, but for anyone that's lost their mum, they will know that they're an anchor because they were always there. You've never known life without them for the most part. Most people, you've never known life without them. They do, whether you realize it consciously in your everyday life or not, they are the one that cares for you, that you can rely on. Like, and even though you can, it's like I could,
but they will love you no matter that unconditional.
It's that unconditional love as much as we can have it here on the earth. And so when you lose them, like I always said, that when I lost mum, I felt like I was just adrift in an ocean with no paddle. I was like, I don't know how to, I don't know. That's the only way I could explain it. And that was the final break in my identity, in my world, the final part of the dark night of the soul, because now I was like, right, okay, so now I have to do life knowing she's not here, with all of this support, with all of this understanding that she had for me, the love. Now I have to do it without her, where I've never done that before. And that was the end part, but I couldn't have done that. I don't think I could have done that, like dealt with my mum's death. I certainly wouldn't have had, because that's where obviously then my spiritual awakening sparked, which is part of the journey. But I had to have that stuff happen before to get me to look within and look at myself, so that then when mum left, I was able to feel slightly more in control of me, because I understood a bit more about who I was and what was going on. I didn't understand the spiritual side of me yet, but I did understand that about me. And also I dealt with a massive, it was grief, like the thing that I'd had gone before that. There was a lot of grief there was a lot of uncomfortability, there was a lot of like, it was just a massive shake up, a massive change in my life. I'd already dealt with it once, so it's almost like that prepared me for this second one with mum. And then I had the foundation set for my spiritual awakening. So anyway, like that was my dark night of the soul. And there's a lot in there. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the dark night of the soul, but that's just relevant to me. And everybody's dark night of the soul is going to be different and relevant to them. But I think what I really wanted to highlight was, one, that lead up. That was the dark night of the soul, but I had no idea it was the start of the dark night of the soul. And so if people are feeling that, then I would say just, be aware and use it. And then secondly, after all of that dark night of the soul, that bottom trough of the wave sent me into a huge upward trajectory very, very quickly. And I was at the top of the peak. So from losing mum, I would have probably said like a year later, I was at the top of that wave.
What a roller coaster.
Yeah, right. I know. But it was just incredible. Like I never could have called it. I could have never called it. My life changed so dramatically, so quickly from the beginning of 2020 to say like the end of 2021.
Mm.
It was insane. It wasn't
God.
recognisable. I wasn't recognisable. I was a completely different person. And that person before my dark night of the soul, I don't even recognise her. I struggle to remember her a lot of the time unless I'm talking about it now. It feels like another lifetime. It feels like another person. Yeah, it's insane.
Fast track Tash, you see.
Mm.
That's what we call you.
But that's but again, for you though, for your that dark night of the soul, look at who you were then and look at who you are now.
Yeah, that's true.
It's insane.
And I can see so clearly, and it is actually written in my life path, that I will learn all my lessons through my children.
Ha.
It actually says that, and I'm like, wow, hello. So they knew that was, I feel like, up until that point, I was just sort of like just wasting time, really, just filling my days, wasting time. And they knew that the only way to get to me, to become who we are today, sitting here, is through one of my kids, or both of them, or
That's
what?
hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Ah. Whew.
Oh, okay. See, that's like a little insight to dark night of the soul. Didn't know we were going to be rehashing this. Like, I feel like, ooh, yeah. I feel like I've gone back in time for a little bit. I don't want to be back there.
Let's go back in the room.
I can be thankful for that time. I don't want to go back and visit it. But again, I suppose before we leave, I want to say that, after I hit that peak, there's definitely been times where I've gone down again. And sometimes, like, it's hard when you are a bit more spiritually aware and you get into this whole thing of you're creating your reality and your vibration and all of that kind of stuff. So if people are here and like said, oh yeah, I've definitely had my first dark night of the soul that awakened me, but now you're like thinking, oh, could I be in a second one? Oh, you could absolutely, because after all of that, when you then dip down and you're inevitably you're going to have another ego death, or there's going to be more stuff because you're doing this kind of work and you're doing the shadow work and the subconscious work and the mindset work and all of that. You're living more mindfully and you're letting life teach you lessons. You are going to have more shadows come out of the closet, skeletons come out of the closet. You're going to have to face those deeper, darker parts of yourself. Maybe you're going to get further into understanding the nature of reality, and that's going to like shake your reality as well. There's going to inevitably be things that start rocking you again, and it's going to spur you into maybe having another dark night of the soul. And I don't think they all necessarily look the same.
No.
And again, that's why I said, taking it back to the beginning, just see it as these ups and downs, integration periods, go periods kind of thing. And don't be afraid of the denser times. Just ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah. And this is where the podcast is so great, right? Isn't it? It's like you guys listening to it, but us doing it as well. We're learning, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, I'm learning loads. And it's just giving us the tools, and it's just making it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit, as you said, not that you want to get through it quick, but because you've got the tools, you tend to come out of it a lot quicker. So if you're here listening to us, we're all on the right track, guys.
We're just doing it. We're just on this journey called life.
Yeah.
Riding through it together.
Yeah.
Like, we just take every moment as it is. Take each, shitty thing that happens to you, or difficult or uncomfortable thing that happens to you, and run with it. And also with the good stuff, take that as well, because we know it doesn't always last.
Yeah.
Because I think
a lot of people are afraid of good stuff, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Like they'll be like, oh, I'm not getting too carried away.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. But it's like, no, I've realised, like, oh God, no, don't do that. The outcome might not be what you want, but enjoy this energy right now, because that's what the universe has given you, right? That excited energy, which is what's going to connect you to your higher self and all the good stuff. And whatever this thing you're excited about, maybe it doesn't happen, doesn't matter.
No.
Take in that energy and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I think some of us miss out on that. Like, I hear, like, my lot at home would be like, if I think this, then the opposite will happen. Instead of just trying to enjoy the peaks and troughs, you know.
Exactly.
yeah.
And always think the best. Like
Yeah.
always think of your highest version of events of what you want to happen, but know that whatever happens,
Yeah.
that's exactly what's supposed to happen for your highest good, whatever you judge it as good or bad. You know, you could be thinking something as in being your best result, and the universe could have much better plans for you can't even imagine. But at the same time, if things don't work out the way that you wanted them to, say for example you want a job and you're like, yeah, I really, really, really want that job, and then you don't get it, absolutely just be like, right, that's because there's a better one around the corner, or that would not have been the right job for me. There was a lesson here for me to learn in being rejected from the job. Like whatever you are unstoppable when you have the power to always shift your perspective to something that works in your favor. And you're going to annoy people. It's going to wind people up. I'm telling you that right now. But they're not living your life. You're the only one living your life. And you have to always remember that. You create. So often I wake up and I think, oh my God, like I feel a certain type of way in a like a ugh way. And I'm like, Tash, you're absolutely creating this feeling today. Do what you can to not create this feeling. Now, that's not to say like you're not supposed to feel those heavy feelings. Some days I'm just like, this is a day where I'm supposed to feel like this. But what I will do around that is be like, how can I make sure that I'm doing the best to keep myself in the happiest place or in the highest vibration state that I can, so that I can still be with the feelings and the dense feelings and find out whatever they're trying to do or whatever the reason for that is, and also snap out of it quickly. I don't want to stay in the cycle. Like we need to be in it and feel it as long as we need to feel it, but then we need to move out. We don't want to get stuck in it and trapped in it.
Exactly.
And sometimes a dark night of the soul can feel that you're stuck and trapped in it, but again it's like, just remember, like it's all happening for a reason. So as long as you're actively doing the things to look after yourself, to be kind to yourself, to all of that kind of stuff, don't be worried that you're getting stuck in a low vibration, and you have to be there for a reason. Like I said, mine lasted about 2.5 years. Yours was a good year. You know, you can't, and that's not to say the whole year was shit. I mean, like, you know, you have to give the bad.
It's not, it sounds awful, doesn't it, when you lay it all out? But when you're in it, it's just, well, you're just living it, aren't you? And you're getting through it, you're surviving. You know, it sounds like, oh God, I don't want that to happen to me, but when it's happening to you, it's all right, it's bearable. And that's what's teaching you as well, that you are resilient and you can get through anything.
Exactly. And you will go back, you know, for me, like I said, like I go back consciously and subconsciously to that time, and I think, well, if you can get through that on paper, all the stuff you got through, you can bloody get through anything. And it does help me with my grief. You know, losing mum was the toughest, you know, thing that I experienced up until then. And now I'm like, well, okay, I dealt with that. And all my issues around like fear of loss that I'm working through now, I always have that. And I'm like, but that's so silly. Why are you scared of loss? Because you know you can deal with loss. And also, not only did you deal with loss, you came out of it stronger and better. And so these experiences really help us when we continue to trying to do this inner work. So you can use your dark nights of the soul for help. And also, you know, if you're in it or you end up being in it at some point, just ride the wave, use the tools like you said. When you've got the tools, and we give so many in these podcasts, when you use them and practice them, stay aware, stay conscious, always ask those questions of how can it be helping me, what is this teaching me, you'll get through it much easier with less suffering. We'll get through it with less suffering, and that's what we are trying to do here. We don't have to suffer.
Exactly. So
right, well,
wrap it up.
Until next week, and we hope you have a lovely week, guys, and we will see you next time.
Bye bye.